with Faraz Shaukutali.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me this morning is Bandula Jayasekara. Good morning to you, Bandula.
Good morning, Faraz.
And also another Trinitian this morning on our program, retired Major General Mano Pereira. Good morning.
Good morning, Faraz.
Thank you for this time you're inside. Last time you were out there at Independence Square.
Yeah.
And Major General Mano Pereira has a particular expertise, disaster management, and what a disaster we've had. What went on, do you think, the camp in Koskama?
Well, where disasters are concerned, there are two types, that's man-made and natural. So this is a classic example of a man-made disaster. We all know that the explosion took place in Koskama, of the ammo dumps that we had there, and then devastation followed. A lot of questions have been raised as to why that happened, and then whether we couldn't have mitigated the damage in the aftermath. Of course, what you should understand is there were a lot of ammunition there, and then the ammunition belonged to various categories of small arms, heavy artillery, ammunition, mortars and explosives, a lot of stuff that we had.
Yeah.
These were ammunition that was shifted from various places that were in the country. We had 3 decades of war, and during this period, I don't say ammunition that were used during the entire 30 years, but then the ammunition that was there in the operational areas had to be withdrawn and stored immediately in the post-conflict period. So when this ammunition started coming back, we had to keep cleaning them, preparing them for storage, and leaving them in these places. So it's not possible for the army to construct huge ammo dumps overnight. Well, it's just 6 years.
Why do you call it ammo dumps? Isn't it storage?
Well, the nomenclature given to ammunition storage in military is called ammo dump.
I see.
So it's dumping of ammunition.
I see.
There is a terminology which is called movement and dumping.
Right.
So storage is used when they storage other items.
I see.
So ammunition.
But ammunition is never stored, it's dumped.
It's dumped basically, maybe because ammunition dumps in the initial stages and in most cases are stored in storages that are constructed below ground level, or partially below ground level. So that's some sort of dumping.
I see. Do we know what happened? Why?
I still do not know exactly what initiated this explosion.
Yeah.
Because the investigation is being carried out by the army. But however, it is evident that a fire has taken place within the complex, and with the change of monsoons and the wind patterns, there is quite a big wind, there is quite strong wind that has been blowing during this period. So that may have assisted the fire to have spread towards the ammo dumps, and then ammo dumps will have caught fire.
Mano, how come only one soldier died?
Yes.
One soldier.
Yes, Bandula. That's quite a pertinent question. Now, with a blast of this magnitude, a lot of people would have expected a huge number of casualties to have taken place. But that's the difference between an army establishment and establishment elsewhere. Because army generally functions on standing orders and procedures. So when a camp is established, you have standing orders. When an ammo dump is established, there are standing orders that how to maintain it, how to have the security, what action to be taken during contingencies, and so on. So according to these contingencies or the SOPs, the person who was responsible in that particular camp was the person who was there. But the balance were a little away from the place. So that prevented many of them being exposed to the danger of explosion.
This soldier who unfortunately lost his life, I saw pictures of him on Facebook and so on, and he looked a very fit and appropriate frame to be in the army, and you felt a lot of pity when you saw that photograph. But how far do you think he was from the center of this?
exactly I am not aware as to how far he was. But then there are various factors that could affect him being being succumbing to the injuries that he suffered, whether it's internal or external. Because there are huge explosions taking place. As a result, there are very strong shock waves being generated by these explosions, and there is a huge amount of heat that is being dissipated, and also he would have got caught in the fire. So it is very likely that he was not very close to it, but then a fair distance away, but still he was exposed to the shrapnels and the shock that resulted from the explosion.
So actually, the people who were living around in that area were at some considerable risk.
Definitely for us. So these are questions that have been raised as to why there were such a lot of people around the place, and then as to why they were not alerted. When you have a place like a army camp, which was previously a factory,
plywood
factory complex, and then whether it was any other industrial zone, it is the general tendency of the public to gather around the place and start settling down due to the microeconomic opportunities that arise from a institution being established in that area. So that would have been the reason why the population started going around, and of course they were at a risk because they were in the borders. But for some fortunate reason, the damage was relatively less, because there was quite good awareness that was being made by the media, especially media like Sirasa, which was present 24 hours, and then of course the army getting activated and then forcing the people to evacuate the homes before dangers really was striking them.
I'm glad that you mentioned this thing about the media coverage, because I think it ought to be said that private television channels such as ours have the right to decide where to report from or not, and they are, by the very nature of the fact that they are private, could mean that the private channel could decide to take a commercial route. Our network did not do that, and it has never done that, and we were reporting all the time from the area to keep everyone up to date with what was happening. There was genuine national concern at what was happening there. However, it was sad to note that the national channels, the state channels, didn't sort of share that same sense of national feeling.
We can't call them national channels. Sorry to say this. How can you call them national channels?
That's true. Well, we would have to withdraw that, because it's actually pathetic the way the national channels, the state channels, covered this event, because it was not only to keep the people in that area informed, but also nationally there was genuine concern.
The whole world was watching this, Farah.
Indeed, and there was all sorts of insinuations and so on. And I noticed, Bandula, that the former Defence Secretary, and you can tell me what he says.
No, and former defence, it's good to ask this question from him. The Defence Secretary from Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that Army Commander Krishanta Silva should take responsibility, and if he was the Defence Secretary, he would remove him. And I don't agree with Gotabaya Rajapaksa on this, because the thing is, then the whole, what all the politicians should resign if this is the case. What do you?
Let me talk in the point of view of a military officer. The mere fact that only one person died shows how the army is organized. As I pointed out earlier, had this disaster taken place elsewhere, there would have been scores of people who would have been injured and dead. But then, because of the organization that is prevalent within the army, the standing orders and the procedures and action taken to prevent unwanted damage and to maintain the compliance standards that are required to the maximum possible manner, the casualties and the damage caused from this explosion is relatively less compared to the magnitude of the.
So you don't like us.
So in that context, I feel there is no reason for the army commander to resign. He had done his job, but then there are other factors that could trigger explosions of this nature.
I think that this army commander has been leading from the front. I spoke to him at some point and asked him to comment, at least off the record, why and so on, of why this happened or how did it happen. And he told me that his speciality is actually explosives and ammunition, and that it would be absolutely incorrect of him to say anything without going into the detail, because that would be into the realms of speculation, and not only because he was the army commander, but because his expertise is in explosions,
And I think,
he wanted to make absolutely certain.
And also,
so that was rather responsible.
And I think former defense secretary should act in a responsible manner and not to issue statements like.
Well, yes, I think it is being mischievous, and actually, it's not mischievous. It's vexatious. That's the proper word, because at every juncture, they try to turn these things into politics, and in some perverted sort of way, into their benefit, when the country itself is indeed, it's the country itself who are concerned as to what went on, and quite rightly too.
And also, Mano, the three forces and the police, along with us, I would say, work together well, because we kept the world informed. The three forces and the police work together, isn't it, Faraz? They really work together.
It's a pity that the national channels didn't work together.
No, sorry,
Faraz,
you can't call them national channels.
No. What should you call them?
Well,
state
Private
channels.
CCTV channels. Only for themselves.
Good one for us.
The private CCTV channels. And we are the national channel.
People's channel.
Yeah, the People's Channel. We have always been, and long we will be.
And also, sorry, Faraz, I want to ask Mano, you have all the three forces and the police, they have these ammunition dumps all over the country. I don't think there is a proper awareness campaign. We must prevent this in the future. They should keep people informed how to evacuate and all that. Don't you think the army or the forces have failed in that?
yes, I agree. There have been a shortcoming at some end, but then it's maybe due to oversight. This camp had been in existence for quite a long time, so they wouldn't have, and nothing has taken place of this nature over the years, so that would have set in some state of complacency, and then they would have forgotten to inform the people around. But this is a good opportunity.
Forgotten to
the evacuation process and
I see.
Of the dangers that could befall them by being so close to an ammo dump. And of course, I must say, the army is in the process of getting proper ammo dumps being constructed, and then shifting these ammunition to safer areas.
Where would safer areas be?
There are places identified, and of course, if you go strictly according to the regulation, there is quite a big area that is required for dumping. And now the best example is the biggest ammo dump in the country is closer somewhere in Balisara. But that area was open, exposed, and there was hardly any habitation around the place when the Britishers constructed those. But today it's not the case. Same way, let me give you an example of the Panalur range. Army had this Panalur range. Actually, it was for the three forces then, just beyond Panagoda and in between Koskama and Panagoda, where we used to do the firing. But today, you can't. It's not safe because there have been a lot of unauthorized settlements that have taken place around the area, and then they have been legalized. Some issues, the civil administration has legalized settling down in those areas. These are gazetted ranges with specific areas to be avoided for human habitation, which falls within the safety range. But there is no safety range today. At the same time, we must understand there is a huge demand for land, for settlements, economic development. So we have to take all these things into consideration. We may not have the luxury of having the spaces that are available in elsewhere in the world, but then wherever possible, we have located places that the government has allocated certain areas. So the army is in the process of constructing ammunition dumps in those areas.
I've got a question from a viewer, and I've been mulling it in my mind for the last 2 or 3 minutes since it arrived. So here we go. I'll ask the question. This viewer is asking: is it wise to disregard the notion that this could have been the work of a subversive organization looking ahead and hoping to put the government back into armament storage to stage a comeback on a government that is then unprepared for revolt?
Well,
is this? Tell me what you think.
Yes. I mean, we experienced a 30-year-old conflict, and we saw the conclusion of that. And there is enough evidence to say there is no requirement for use of heavy ammunition at the moment. So there is sufficient number of ammunition and explosives available within the field area which are dealing with the immediate threat. There is no requirement to have everything else deployed all over the country. So this has to be kept in storage. It doesn't mean that armies, the Sri Lankan forces or the defense forces are not prepared to face an emergency.
We are
ready. We are prepared.
Well, they are. That's the answer to that from this viewer.
Now, Mano, now there was this problem or the same situation in Mattegod a few years ago. Why now? But again, can you tell our viewers about this Mattegod incident? What happened?
Yeah, Mattegod explosion took place about 2 years ago, and then certain precautionary measures have been implemented, and as a result there was a survey done in the army where we require proper ammunition dumping and ammunition storage. It's as I said, it is in process now to construct these and shift them into much safer areas. At the same time, the type of ammunition that was dumped in Mattegod is different to what was here in Salava, Kuskama. Salava had ammunition which are much more destructive and had a longer range. But then I know there was a certain part of the public who were expecting these heavy artillery ammunition to travel long distances, but it doesn't happen because once the ammunition is ignited through an external source without being inside a chamber, it loses the ability to travel distances and arm itself in some cases. So as a result, it did not travel the distance, but then destruction was limited, but then it was considerable compared to the surrounding that was in existence.
Is it possible that there was some sort of altercation or some sort of altercation between some people, some army people there, and somebody shot at somebody and a stray bullet went in this armory? How possible is that?
Oh, that's a very good question. It's more fiction than reality.
We are planning our retirement and we want to be authors.
Just because you fire a shot from a small arm, it doesn't catch fire unless you fire a tracer bullet to some place where it can be ignited.
What about tracer flares?
No, it's very unlikely for us for such thing to happen. But anyway, the investigation is being carried out by the army as to find out the cause.
Does it help when I ask questions like this?
Definitely, yes.
Do you think Colonel Senahetiarachi, the Secretary of Defence, will be buoyed by me asking such questions?
Definitely, because they would get a different perspective from what has been projected through the experts of the army. Now we have an explosive expert as the commander of the army who is quite thorough on his subject. So he already has got his people on the job and they're analysing as to what happened. I mean, he's a qualified person on explosives.
Do you think he's on the floor now laughing because I've asked whether a 9mm bullet might be.
But I think it's more decent by me not answering that question direct and embarrassing you saying yes he would.
Yeah,
but
yes.
I don't think he'll be doing it.
That's your Trinity upbringing there.
maybe.
On that note, we are going to have to take a break because my producer is saying so. Do stay tuned. Don't go away. This is Newsline. Welcome back to Newsline and good morning again. And joining us on Newsline this morning is retired Major General Mano Pereira.
Faraz,
Yes, and of course Mano.
Yeah, viewers, some lady viewers are saying it's good to see Faraz in pink.
Oh, you mean the tie?
Yeah, the tie and the shirt is red, but they are commenting on it.
Yes, thank you. But there's more important matters at stake here. We noticed something that's unusual. An official of the government has resigned, and not many of the newspapers are carrying it.
No one carried it. I think we had a news
RF carried an alert yesterday.
Yeah, Dr. Sumit Pilapitia, who was the Director General of Wildlife, and he retired. He was in the World Bank.
Yeah.
And he retired, and he was appointed by the Prime Minister. And Sumit has sent his resignation yesterday.
But why do you think he did that?
I mean, he came from the World Bank. I don't know. I mean, I read this article in the Sunday Times that he was a genuine person who wanted to do a job of work. That's the problem in the government sector.
Indeed.
Good people cannot continue and work.
Now then, Major General Mano, what will go on? This is all is left of this camp. It's just a few mangled bits of steel.
That may be a photograph of a few places where the ammo dump was, but then it's a huge camp.
Right.
There are a lot of structures. Of course, they will go into first. They will have to clear the area of the remnants, explosive ordnance that are there, and then clear it and make it once again safe for occupation. And in the meantime, they will go into detail and find out as to what happened, and then take the precautionary measures, and also inform all other camps around the country as well as the other forces to take such precautionary actions.
Do you think that the threat level, the alert level, has been increased as a result of this?
The threat level, in the sense, if you are talking about the threat perception of a re-emergence of trouble or a conflict, I think we are already in active mode regarding this, and the three services, the defense forces, all are alert, and they're quite prepared to face any such thing, and the desired action or the required action is being taken even at the grassroots level. So there is no, I don't think there is any such fear of an uprising taking place.
So do you think that
immediately?
Do you think that this incident will be used as a sort of, or will be portrayed as a genuine reason why the troops should be taken out of the camps and put in greater numbers in the former conflict areas?
Well, this did not take place in the conflict area.
True.
And this took place in a peace area, as it was described earlier. But then now the entire country is at peace, and the security measures are up according to the standards that are required. These another incident that has taken place. There would have been some sort of shortcomings, maybe because we have grouped all these resources in one place, where it should have been. In actual fact, the ammunition dump should be away from where the large number of troops are kept. So for safety reasons. But that is why I said it is being done at the moment. The army is constructing the required ammo dumps. We can't do that.
But also, Mano, at this stage, okay, we agree now. Take the Air Force headquarters or the Army headquarters, the Navy headquarters. They came first long ago, and then the hotels and the commercial establishments came later. But don't you think it's time to change that? Because you cannot coexist, like next to the army headquarters you have the hotels and more hotels are coming. Don't you think the Secretary of State should move out?
Yeah, let me explain this bit further and give you a little bit of background to this. Sometime back, not very far, in the recent past, there was a discussion with the tri-service commanders, the Secretary of Defence and the hierarchy of the government regarding this very issue, and everybody agreed that there is a need, urgent demand for land, and there is a need for economic development to go in hand with security. So measures are being taken on compromising both requirements, and then try to balance it in tandem so that we could achieve the desired results on both sides without much damage to each other. That is being done at the moment. So because land is scarce in this country.
Yeah, you gave the army ground to the Hotel Shangla. You given that.
Yeah, this is not something that came up in a couple of years ago. Actually, working out the floor space for the army headquarters was done in 2004 when it was to be shifted to Akurekoda. So this plan is a long plan which is being implemented right now.
To give you, Major General Mano Pereira, an indication of how well this program is received, I have a long SMS from a viewer who says, if one is sincere, they should look closely at the very recent Polgon dump blast in Nagpur just 1 week ago. It's the largest in India and the second largest in Asia. 17 were killed. It's 7,000 acres and the perimeter alone is 26 kilometers. 170 tons of ammo exploded. So such things are possible everywhere. Blast fire due to either sabotage, neglect or accident needs to be looked into. As the shelf life of ammo increases, the risk of accident is more. This is very important. And it goes on and on, and all sorts of detail. Like
is this from a top military expert?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Should be.
1983 Rawalpindi blast was in the capital of Pakistan. 2002 again in Lahore, I think. 2012 blast in Russia, 3,000 tons destroyed. 2002 Lagos, Nigeria, 1,000 killed. 2012 again in Brazzaville in Congo, 200 killed. So these are facts that need to be looked before making foolish remarks on the army commander being sacked. The Indian Chief of Army Staff was not sacked. So we need to overcome the negative impact of false information and rumor based on political agendas of a few people. Well said. Thank you for the comment, and please carry on tuning in to Newsline. It really is the only program worth watching at this time of the morning. I just thought let's share that with you, because in case you thought that it is not worth your while to come here. But it is.
He never said so.
No, he didn't. Just in case. Yes. Because some people.
Only thing he was concerned that you might ask about the central bank bond issue.
Oh well, that's we reserve that for some other time. But now then, how many millions of dollars will be needed, do you reckon, to rebuild?
For us, I can't give you offhand. Yes. Let the army go into detail and then take account of what has happened and then give those issues. Because I can't just say offhand, because I don't know the distraction as such, because they are still investigating into it.
Major General Mano Pereira, thank you very much. You've been an absolutely wonderful ambassador to the army, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for us. At the same time, I would like to congratulate and admire the effort of Cirrus and Newsline for educating the public during this disaster period.
Cirrus and TV1.
And TV1 rather, because if not for their untiring efforts, I mean, they were there throughout the day and throughout the night, educating the people. The devastation, destruction would have been much more had the people been in the houses and not listening to what had been told to them.
We're here 24/7, 365 days for the people. Thank you, Major General Mano Pereira. Thank you, Bandla Jaisekara. And thank you for having watched Newsline. Do take care. Have a great day. and God bless.
Thank you.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.